Welcome back. Hopefully we've picked up some people who've taken a bit of a holiday lately, as well as everybody who's been with me the whole time. So we're going to be starting on chapter 10 today, which is called Linear Equations, and this is going to take us about 3 weeks to get through this, so you've got to make sure that you really stay with me here. Now, linear equations are also known as algebra, and algebra is all about balance. So making sure that what's on one side of an equation is equal to what's on the other side of that same equation. In grade 8, we deal generally with equations that you could probably just figure out in your head without following the steps. But the goal is for you to learn the proper process so that when you get a question that's something like, I don't know, 3x squared plus 4x minus 7 equals 9, so that you know the process that's going to allow you to figure that one out. So we're going to start with something a little bit easier than that, and we're going to start in your brand new chapter 10 books, Solving Linear Equations, and we're going to have a look at the very first example, which is a question from an exam a few years ago. So I'll give you a second to get that one out, and then we will look at this first example here. All right, so we've got 3 different balances, and I want you to understand for this one that if something has a value here, once we establish what it is in A, it's going to be the same in B and the same in C. That does not always work in algebra. When we deal with letters, we might say that in one question x equals 3. That doesn't mean in the next question x is still going to equal 3. X might equal -1. But for the purpose of this activity here, each one will have just one value. So we've got to look first at the information they give you. So they tell us that this whole thing here is out of 16. So what I said earlier is we talk about balance. So we have to make sure that on both sides of the scale, things are even. That means that everything on this side has to add up to 8, and everything on this side has to add up to 8. Well, what that tells us right away is that this triangle piece here has a value of 8. So I'm going to write it there. Not only am I going to write it there, but I'm going to put it in here too. If I know that this side has a value of 8 and there's 2 circles, what does that tell me? Well, of course, that tells me that each one of the circles is 4. So I know now that my circles have a value of 4. That means this is 4, 4, 4, and this is 4. Moving on, I'm done with this one now. Well, I know that 4 plus 4 plus 4 adds up to 12. If this side is 12, in order to keep things balanced, we have to make sure that this side will add up to 12, which means 12 plus 12 gives us balance B is 24. Not only that, I know that 2 of these plus 1 of these is going to equal 12. All right, so I can take the 8 away. This leaves me with 4 to split between these two. So each one has a value of 2. If the rectangular piece is 2 here, well, it's surely going to be 2 over there. And look at that, 2 plus 2 is 4. All I have left is the value of the entire balance for C. 4 plus 4 is 8. That is how algebra works. All right, so we have a couple examples. We learned how to do this sort of thing during linear relations. That was chapter 9, not that long ago. We did that right before fractions, where we were looking at different variables. Remember that variables are letters that represent numbers. So if x equals 4, all I'm going to do is substitute 4 in where I see x. So I'm going to put 4 here. And now I'm going to work through my question. Funny, look at that. We're looking at order of operations again. What happens first? The brackets. So I've got 2 times 4 minus 1, which is 3, plus 6 equals y. I'm going to do my multiplication next. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 6 equals y. So over here, y equals 12. There's one example. Let's look at another one. So I've got x equals 4, and I've got y equals 3 plus, well, I'm just going to do this because I can. First thing I'm going to do is what's in the brackets. So I've got 3 plus 4 is 7 minus 7, still inside brackets, times 4. 7 minus 7 is 0. 0 times 4, well, any number multiplied by 0 is 0. So the answer is y equals 0. Hi, got some tough questions here. So I thought I would put them up on the screen so that we could all work through them together. So what we're trying to do now is take a number sentence and turn it into an equation for ourselves that we would be able to solve. Of course, it would be impossible to solve any of these questions simply because there is no answer. We're not going to have the variables that would allow us to solve them, but if we did, we would be able to. So we need to work on using some of our math vocabulary here. So it says 5 more than 2 times a number. 5 more than 2 times a number. So we need to look at the pieces of information that we have. Well, 5 more is going to mean that I'm going to add 5 to something. So I'm going to hang on to that for now. Well, it says 2 times a number. Well, I'm going to use x right now. So 2 times a number is simply going to be 2x. All right, so I've got 2x, and now I said at the beginning that I was going to add 5 to it. So I'm just going to add 5. So what I'm left with now, 2x plus 5. 2 times a number, and I add 5 more. The next one here says 7 less than 5 times a number. Well, that means that I better find out what 5 times a number is. So that's going to be 5x. 7 less than that, well, that's easy, minus 7. All I have to do is take a close look at what's in front of me. Next one, 5 times a number decreased by 2. Well, again, 5 times a number, 5x, decreased. Well, what operation does decrease tell me I need to be using? Ah, I know that one. That's subtract. So minus 2. 5 times a number, 5x, decreased by 2, minus 2. 2 increased by 5 times a number. Well, I'm going to start with 2. Now I'm going to increase that by 5 times a number. Well, if I'm going to increase, I guess I better add 5x. 2 increased by 5 times a number. All right. I'll give you a couple more of them here, and then I'm going to have you do some of these all on your own. So let's see. Twice a number decreased by 7. Twice a number would be 2x, and then decreased by 7 minus 7. All right, I'm going to leave you guys F on your own. G you can do on your own. Let's do H together, okay? Because H is just a little bit different. So it says 2 times the sum of a number and 8. Well, I got to think back to what sum means. I know that product is multiplication. I know that quotient is division. I know that difference is subtraction. So sum must be addition. So I'm adding something here. So the sum of a number and 8. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some brackets in here. and I'm going to put x representing that number, the sum of that number and 8. There we go. And I'm going to do 2 times that. Well, all I'm going to do is go back to the beginning of my equation and represent that I have 2 times the sum of a number and 8. Well, that should let you do I on your own and J on your own, and somehow K ended up on the other page for me here, not for you. 1/4 of a number. Well, this one's interesting because I could do it like this. I actually have to put my cursor in there. And for some reason, it doesn't want to go there for me. Well, all right, I'll just explain it then. If I want, I could do 1/4 times x. That would be 1/4 of a number. Or the other option would be to do x over. Last thing I'm going to ask you to do today is just finish off that worksheet. So all you need to do is F, G, I, and J all by yourself. Once you've got those done, you're just going to take a picture of them. You're going to send them to me. If you're having any trouble with those examples at all, you make sure that you let me know sometime today, and I'll see if I can possibly walk you through them. Tomorrow we'll be starting on something else.